Hello there, Darkness Falls farmers. Right, this guide is on irrigation, hydroponics, and underground farming. What has made things so different in Darkness Falls 5.1? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that simply is hydroponics. Hydroponics is a modelet created by IDC for vanilla, and it is included in Darkness Falls. I can't say it will be in version 6 yet, only time will tell. Right now, even underground farming has been revolutionized. So traditional underground farming with grow lights is still a thing, but not required. We will still demonstrate why pretty soon. So effectively, this guide is about hydroponics. However, we will look at irrigation briefly, but with the added benefit of working with hydroponics, we will also look at irrigation crop limits and why irrigation is currently quite useless on its own. As before, irrigation is constructed with irrigation pipes. They become available through the farmer class, and once you get the correct perk, then you'll be able to craft the irrigation pipes and the pump. Different shapes are obtained by holding the R key, and you choose the shape that you wish to use. Pipes go up walls, down walls, underground, on top of the ground, and over pretty long distances. The pump must be submerged in water. So usually you can dig a 2x2 hole and place the pump at the bottom, then connect a pipe to that pump. It does not matter which irrigation part that you use, as long as it is adjacent to the pump. You will then connect the remaining pipes to this. You can add 2 or 3 buckets of water to the hole, and this water never runs out. A single pump would be fine for your farms, and water will not be consumed by your plants. It is effectively an everlasting supply. So as long as your pump is submerged, you won't have a problem with your irrigation. You can also add your pump to a swimming pool, lake, river, well, really any pool of water. Any of these shapes can be connected to allow the flow of water. As you can see, this strange concoction of shapes along this way. It's an immersion nightmare, but it makes no difference how you connect the pipes. The cap at the end of the pipe is only there for aesthetics. It makes it look nice, like you don't want the water to flow out at the end of the pipe, so you feel the need to cap the end. An uncapped pipe will not spill water, but if you feel your irrigation needs a cap to look more immersive or better, then well, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, it makes no difference at all. Just as long as each pipe block is placed next to one another, then the water will move along these adjacent pieces. You can use farm plots or hoed soil next to your pipes, and the pipes can be placed at the same level as your crops, or you can place them even lower. Crops will grow up to 3 blocks from the pipe, so this is the same as it was in the past recent versions of Darkness Falls. Crops using irrigation, just like normal farming, will take up to 3 days to fully grow and be ready for harvesting. Now, here's the catch. The current farming method using water and Raincatchers, which we covered in my first 5.1 farming guide, Come Farm With Me, makes irrigation to grow crops quite useless. Owing to the simple state of water usage and how many crops you can have in a single large surface soil farm, using irrigation just to plant crops like this is pretty much redundant. Irrigation in many ways is a waste of time and resources. Version 6 farming will likely be revisited by Kane, and this may change things once it is fixed or updated in some way. So farming on the surface is considerably better than irrigation for now. Of course, if it was not for hydroponics, we would close shop and say goodnight. For those wanting to farm indoors and a means to replace underground farming, we move into the wonderful world of hydroponics. Hydroponics is not in the farmer class as you may expect. Instead, it is more for those tech-savvy players in the science class. There is a vertical and a 2x1 size basin. However, both the horizontal and the vertical take up 2 blocks of space. The basin has a place for you to add your seeds. Even though the slot can take hundreds of seeds, you only need 1 seed to produce many crops. Then there are 2 tools that you can use to upgrade your basin. First, there are the grow lights. They increase the speed of your crops. A normal crop cycle takes around 18 or 19 real-time minutes. If you're using grow lights, then this can decrease to around about 14 minutes or so. The other tool upgrade is the expanded basin. This increases the number of crops that can be grown before it runs out of slot space. So it expands the total number of slots by 30. Adding fertilizer is done in this slot over here. As the crops use it, it will be consumed. Usually you have 2 or 3 crops per cycle. They are automatically produced, while if you add fertilizer, then you will automatically get 4 to 6 crops per cycle, which is around about double your yield. The battery, seeds, and water are the only required ingredients to make this operation work. You don't need grow lights, you don't need the larger basins, you don't need fertilizer. Also, the batteries slowly deplete, and this takes so long that it's not really an issue at all. By the time the battery is flat and must be recharged, you would likely be rolling in batteries or have a means to easily recharge them. Then, in the world of hydroponics, we finally have the single thing that causes probably the most anxiety among players. Water. You must have water for hydroponics to work. Well, obviously. However, it is how the water is provided that does cause a bit of confusion at times. Water must follow a very specific rule. It must be located at the block below the hydroponics basin. So you can use a pool, or you can use your irrigation pipes, or even a lake of water. However, whatever the case, water must be below the basin. Not on the side. For example, I have water that is below this basin, but it is not in the block that is directly below the basin. So this operation will not work. The reservoir will not fill up with water. Here is a good example. I have completely submerged the bottom section of this hydroponics basin in water. Typically, it should actually fill with water. However, you can see the bottom section is partially obstructed by soil in this lake. There is not a full water block below the basin. You can see the water reservoir is empty. As soon as I dig away the bottom soil, exposing the block to water, the water starts to fill up the reservoir. So that bottom block under the basin is very important. Once you understand that, the hydroponic system is actually really easy. Now, irrigation is also used to supply water through pipes, and by placing the basins on top of the pipes, so they will have a continual water source. When using irrigation, remember that once you connect the pipes to the pump and the pipes must fill with water. Depending on your settings, this can take a few in-game hours, so be patient. Another cheap, really elementary system for just filling up the basins. If you really wanted to, you could just pour water onto the hydroponics basin, and this will be quickly sucked up and fill the reservoir. Water is consumed as crops are created, so you lose 50 water with each crop cycle. This does take a long time, so that is about 100 crop cycles before it is actually depleted. Those that are farming on the surface, or those that are planning on huge farms, then it is cheaper in a long way to make a massive farm with the traditional way of using buckets of water or just adding a water block somewhere so that your farm will be able to utilize it and grow from that. Of course, with the traditional farming method, you need seeds to be able to initially plant, while one hydro basin uses just one seed. Hydroponics has a tremendous advantage over the traditional underground farming, or if you plan to farm indoors, it is a matter of setting it up, just leaving it to tick away, and then come back and collect your harvest. One thing to take note of is the types of seeds. Do not use underground farming seeds with hydroponics. Just because you decide to farm underground with hydroponics, you will still need to use your normal seeds. So, normal seeds for surface and underground hydroponics. Also, don't try to farm trees either. They will not work in your hydro system. Check out my tree farming video if you are unsure. As I said, those wanting a cheap method that is on the surface, and especially if you plan to have a very large farm, then the traditional method is quite superior. Of course, that is up to you. I've stated that I love using farm plots, even though they are more expensive than hoed soil. I just like using them. So you do as you like. Right now, Darkness Falls, I think, has provided either hydroponics or the traditional method, and both cater very well to accommodate your vision for an awesome base. Thank you for watching, survivors, and I will see you in the next one.